nigga went to high school with me. Like, what the fuck? And then from there, it was just the imagination or the mind opened up that, for me, that anything was possible. Like, I just wasn't regulated to having to be a barber.
Right.
Not that I didn't love it, because I did love barbering. That was a gift that God gave me, and I was still am probably one of the best ever to touch the clippers. But that is what parlayed me into touring with Another Bad Creation in '91. And that opened me up to barbering for Boyz II Men when they were here recording their second album, for television, videos, photo shoots.
And now these were some sharp cuts now that I can remember, man.
Right,
It was like these were some
right,
cuts where it's like you saw them on TV.
Yeah.
It was like, shit, mom, let me get one of those.
Right, and a few of them motherfuckers were very particular. Yeah, but it was the barbering gave me the unique opportunity to have at least 30 to 40 minutes with a client, and that was my schooling. That was my opportunity to ask questions. That was my opportunity to listen. So that's what brought me into the music business, actually cutting hair for Tim and Bob, two producers that had came down here from Detroit and Peoria, Illinois, and develop a friendship with them and Leslie, this intern named Leslie Brathwaite, and every
Who is now
artist-
like one of the most in-demand
and
engineers.
at the time,
yeah.
he couldn't even pay for a haircut.
Right.
You know, so now it's, it just put me in the room. I was the fly on the wall. I would sit in the sessions. I would be there and just listen and learn and absorb knowledge and experience from them. And that's what my introduction into the music business was.
So what was the next step for you? Because I know when I met you and and you first kind of told me a little bit of your story, you kind of started with like the bad boy era of your life. You know what I'm saying? So walk us from, cutting hair for ABC, Boyz II Men, and getting that knowledge from, those barber experiences. And, what were the next steps in there? What did that, lead you towards?
Well, Tim and Bob asked me as they were working on Boyz II Men's second album. I think the first album at that time had sold 5 million records, and they were working on the second album with Dallas. And at the time, there was a Busta Rhymes coming through. He had formerly just left his group, and I was cutting his hair. And then there was a guy named Puffy who had just lost his job, and he just came down, and I cut his hair. And Tim and Bob asked me to find them a group. It only made sense because they're working on Boyz II Men. They want their own group. And so I went to my neighborhood in College Park, Pine Tree, and found my little partner who was a lot younger than me but lived less than a mile away from me, named Richard Wingo. And he was in a group that went to Tri-Cities, and that was the first group that I brought to Tim and Bob. The name of their group was 4 Shades Deep. There was another group at Tri-Cities at the time called Two
Shades Deep, which was Outkast.
Right. Exactly. So group was dope to me, but didn't cut the mustard when I brought them into Dark Studios. So from there, Wingo and I literally put him in 3 or 4 different groups, tried to find singers, putting groups together. And one day he was just like, Bear, let's go to this talent show at this high school, and this group that I know about is going to be performing. I said, all right, I'll meet you up there. And me and 2 of my most solid homies from back in the day, we just pulled up and actually missed their performance, but caught them coming out the door, and after tearing the house down. And the group name was Forte, and they later became the group we know as 112.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that Wingo was in 112?
Wingo was supposed to be the 4th member of 112.
Oh, okay.
When I met Forte, let's say I met him on Thursday night. By the time I went to meet with them on Saturday, one of the members had been replaced. But the member was replaced with a guy named Q Parker. But Q and Wingo, we had them in the group a year before. So when Q walks in the door, I'm like, hey, that's Q. And he was like, hey, that's Wingo and Bear. And so, but it was a 4-man group already, and they sounded excellent, so there was no way to really push him into the group. But turns out that we were able, K. Wells and I were able to put him in a group called Twin AK, who had just lost a member, and that group became Jagged Edge.
Right. So you're in there with 112, and this is like early on, because like we got introduced to 112 in the mainstream, like what, 96? That's when the album came out, and
this was 93.
And this is 93, you know what I'm saying? So like, you know, so that means, you know, you was there for their beginning. So like, when did like the whole Bad Boy stuff materialize? Because I always remember buying Bad Boy albums and then looking back, like, damn, they've been shouting these dudes out since the damn Craig Mack album. And this album just came out in 96, 97, you know what I'm saying?
It was a long process.
Yeah.
The recording of our first album, the first album, took a little bit over a year. And we actually lived in New York. We moved to New York in 94, recorded the majority of 95. And around the beginning of 96, we were right there as being able to say we were finished with the album. But Dallas just was not impressed with the group Forte. And we spent a lot of time at DARP trying to impress Dallas, trying to win him over. And while we're trying to win him over, we're also developing. You know, we're also being taught. We're also in the rooms practicing daily. Like I would pick them up after school, bring them to the studio. We'll sit in a room in one of the B rooms or the C rooms and practice and practice for the opportunity to win Dallas over. And it never really happened.
So I'm curious, you know, like at this point, you know, Dallas is one of the biggest shows in town, but he ain't the only show in town. You know what I'm saying? Like you had Jermaine with So Def, you had LaFace starting the bubble.
I think
like
this was kind of before So Def. I think that after ABC blew up first, and then immediately almost Crisscross came, but Crisscross wasn't. I don't think Crisscross was signed to So Def.
It was on Columbia. So Def started when he got like Escape and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So it was the very beginning stages of everybody. LaFace was just getting started. Divine Stevens was the first artist signed to LaFace. And so we were all, those are just three people. You know what I mean? Well, LaFace, DARP or Rowdy, and Jermaine Dupri. But once we were dealing with Dallas Austin, Jermaine wasn't an option for us. You know, L.A. Reid and Babyface definitely weren't an option. We were where we felt like we were supposed to be, and we was gonna make this happen. But Dallas never really. He just like, they good, but you know. And it took Puff hearing one song that the guys had recorded. One song. That's all we had recorded. And he was like, I'm starting a new label, and I want to sign these guys.
So what was that ride like, man? Because, I mean, I remember, like I said, I referred to your Instagram because, like, every once in a while you drop, like, a video still or something. Like, oh, damn, Bear was over there? Bear know them dudes? And I remember you dropped something about, like, the first song that a lot of us got introduced to Biggie through, which was the Super Cat song. You know what I'm saying? So you was around in that era. Tell us what it was like being around to like see the building blocks of Bad Boy. Like, cause at the time, I mean, it was just another label from, like you said, a guy that just happened to get fired from his job and he's starting back out on his own. But now it became a behemoth. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was it like being around for the building blocks of, you know, Bad Boy?
It was. You have to think, for us, it was our very first rodeo. So seeing or hearing a flavor in your ear and seeing how incredibly well that song was doing, hearing about Biggie and seeing the record with him and Supercat and the homies, and it was like, okay, this shit really moving. There's some excitement around it. And knowing, you know, Puff's affiliation with Heavy D and Jodeci and Mary J. Blige and all this shit. So it's like, okay, this could be the dude, but he still was a New York nigga. You know what I mean? For us, we would have preferred to be in Atlanta with Dallas doing our thing. But it worked out that we got there to New York. I'll never forget our first trip there. They were shooting the video for, I think the record was called Get Down with
Craig
Mack. And we pulled up. We had to have the white limo, like this is all the K-Well shit. Like we had to have the white limo. The boys had to have on, these particular boots and this particular
And this ain't even
jacket.
y'all video.
No, we just there, and everybody looking like, who the fuck is these country-ass niggas walking up in the middle of New York like, shit, we've arrived. And New York niggas was just like aliens to us. You know what I mean? Like, they were a different energy coming from Atlanta. And it was very rowdy. It was very boisterous. It was energy. You could tell that there was some tension. You know what I mean? And immediately I had to know that this is the big leagues. You know what I mean? So we immediately started soaking up game and understanding that New York was the king. Atlanta was trying to get on the map. And we were able to see Puffy and Biggie and Total and Faith and Craig Mack become a force to be reckoned with when it came to them radio stations and them plays. And that shit was like, oh, we on a fire-ass team. Like, we on a fire team. Like, this team is, like, everybody fucking with Bad Boy.
Yeah.
Now we have to do our part. We can't come in this motherfucking fumble the ball,
Right.
Behind Biggie Smalls. We couldn't fumble the ball.
And it was a trip because I remember like the first time that I even saw and heard of it one time. It was back when, you pretty much heard from somebody from the first time either on the radio or it came on Video Soul or something. And it's like, I was like, oh, this is a jamming little song, you know what I'm saying? It got Biggie on it. Yeah. But then I saw niggas in there doing the bounce. I'm like, hold on, bro, hold on. That ain't no New York shit. That where these dudes actually from.
And people from New York thought we was from 112th Street.
Ah, because
People
of the
from
name.
Atlanta seen the Bankhead bounce and the name 112 was like, they must be from Atlanta.
Yeah.
But how the fuck are they in New York?
Right.
It just didn't. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle being from Atlanta and living in New York and trying to get the respect from New York. Not saying that we didn't have the respect and the love from the Bad Boy family. Like, we definitely had that. And that was amazing to have Biggie come in the studio semi-regularly and like, man, play me some of that shit. I want to hear some of y'all shit. And just sit in there and really just groove to our shit. Like, y'all niggas can sing. And have Faith come in. It's like, I want y'all on a song. Or sitting in the studio at the Hit Factory on 54th Street while they are recording the One More Chance remix. And just being a part of that and going to the video for One More Chance remix.
Oh, wow. You was at the party, all this?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
but guess what?
What's that?
They wouldn't let us in. They didn't believe we were signed to the label.
Damn. So y'all really was out there getting yelled at by Heavy D in real life.
And feelings was hurt so goddamn bad, we
Damn.
just walked the fuck off and left. Like, fuck it. Took us about 30 minutes to find a cab. 5 of us jumped in that motherfucker like, fuck it. One of these days, they gonna fucking respect us.
Damn.
One
So
of these
Puffy ain't
days.
pick up the phone?
Well, no goddamn phones. That was 95. Nobody had no phone. Nigga couldn't even get, nigga had to go to the payphone. What is that shit called? Beeping.
Beeping. So, like I was saying earlier, like, you think you know a guy. So it's like, I knew a lot of your history with 112 and the role you played in, finding them, cultivating them, putting them together. I did not know how involved you were, like, in the actual, like, production and songwriting process. So tell me the story about how the song Cupid came about and the role that you played in it.
Well, the pressure was always, every single day that we lived in New York, was to create something incredible.
Okay.
Like, for lack of a better word, like Puff was a slave driver. You know, he wanted some hits. He wanted so bad to remain hot. Like, here we are I always say we as if I was in the group, and I kind of feel that way.
I mean, shit, you were there the whole time.
Right. we were balladeers, you know what I mean? But here we are in the club party label that always got remixes that's in the club and jamming, and we were doing our best to write some heartfelt, you know what I mean, records. And a lot of times I would just be in the room, but at some point I realized that that my creative juices were flowing. I always was able to write, whether write poems or letters or formulate, even raps early on, trying to write raps, but mostly poems. And one night in our apartment, our little rinky-dink-ass apartment, I was just telling them that this reminds me of our second apartment. Deron was playing on his little Casio keyboard, and that night I came up with the lyrics, melody and lyrics for this interlude called Why, and which made it on the first album. And when people heard the record, when Tim and Bob heard it, they were like, dog, that's incredible. Like, we really love those lyrics. You need to write more. And probably 6 months later, during the recording process, Arnold Hennings, who was from here, was initially signed to Dallas as a producer, was in New York working with us, and I came in, and they were working on this song, and no one could figure out the chorus to the record. And it came to me what I thought the chorus should be, but I was kind of, you know, a little nervous, you know what I mean? If I say something, they say this shit whack, I'm gonna be like, probably never write again, you know what I mean? So we're all in there, and I just said, I think it should be this. Da-da-da-da-da, Cupid never lies. Cupid, da-da-da, never lies.
Was you singing it too? You were singing
it? You know, humming it, you know what I mean? And they were like, shit, let's try it. And I was like, okay, fuck it. Little did I know, had no idea that record would become what it became.
That's like the 112 staple.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So
yeah, you are in the group, bro. You are in the group,
right,
dog.
right. Yeah, me and 112. But then Stevie J tried to take he became the fifth member because he could sing. And Stevie J and DJ Rogers Jr. helped us finish our first single, Only You, which we had been trying to finish for like a month. And that's what became our first single. Right. And me, Kev, and Puff actually went and pulled up on Biggie at a Ralph McDaniel party. And he came outside and we played Only You, the original version. He said, yeah, I'm fucking with it, Huggy. They used to call me Huggy Bear back then. He jumped on it, and that shit, you know, to come out the gate with our first record, and I think it went to #1.
Yeah.
And then the remix, which, you know, allowed us the opportunity to introduce the world to a guy named Mason Bethel.
Right.
And from there, we was just rocking.
So, I mean, you know, 112 had an incredible run, you know what I'm saying? But it's interesting to, like, where you fit in the history where you got 112, they come out in 96, they wreck shop. And then around 97, another 4-man group from the Jagged Edge comes out, and you got history with them. Because you sat here and just told us that you was rocking with Wingo from Jagged Edge, and you couldn't fit him in 112, you know what I'm saying? So, like, tell us how the Jagged Edge journey started in the midst of you being on the journey with 112.
So K. Wells was a part of the whole process. Once I brought Forte to DARP, but everyone loved Wingo. Like, everybody still loves Wingo. Yeah. He's just that dude. And it was unfortunate that he couldn't be in the group because he had style, he had charisma, he had personality. Everybody fucked with him. And so one day Kev beat me. I hit him back. He was like, bro, where's the dude? Where's the young dude? Give me his number. I want to hook up with him. I think we can put him in this group. He didn't know I knew who the group was because I had already seen the group at a couple of auditions. And a week or so after that, he was like, man, this shit is a perfect fit. You got to see it. I pulled up and see them together, and I'm like, oh, this shit is fly. You know, these young niggas is fresh. So we all end up at Kev's house, 112 and Jagged Edge, who neither one of them had group name at that time, and started rehearsing together, just developing, just seeing the energy around 112 felt Boys Diminish. You know what I mean? The energy around Jagged was a little rougher, a little wilder, felt more Jodeci-ish. Yeah. You know what I mean? So in '97, when they came out with their first single, The Way That You Talk to Me, and it almost looked like our first video, Only You. We had on all white. They had on all white. They was in the streets. We was in the streets. They was in the streets. And we like, didn't JD copycat us? A motherfucker. It's like, this motherfucker. But it started going quick. Like, the first single didn't really jump off of Jagged like that. And
that was when it had Brad on it.
Right.
I remember that.
And I got the call to say, well, Bear, they got to go on the road. You know, can you go travel with them for a little while? And I was like, yeah, I didn't really want to leave my group. You know what I mean? I moved to New York with 4 teenagers, 2 of which were still in high school. And I said, yeah, I'll go. And I went on the road with them. They was on a tour called the Young Soul Power Tour. And there was another group. It was a girl named Tiffany Evans, John Forte
from the Fuji?
John Forte, and this girl group called Destiny's Child. And we toured for about a month, going around the country performing and getting hot out here in these streets. And that's how I guess most people know the story about the Jagged Edge, Destiny's Child shit. So,
right.
You know, that's how that shit went down. But yeah, it was incredible. It was totally different. Jagged Edge totally 100% different than 112.
Right.
The experience was different. The whole way they came together, and I guess I said earlier today that us having to move to New York and fight for respect, fight for cab, walk in the rain, walk in the snow, a mile to the studio, a mile home, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning every day. Sometimes Biggie would buy us food, sometimes Von Zip would buy us food, sometimes, you know what I mean, motherfuckers would pull up like, damn, y'all niggas look hungry. Nigga, we is hungry. Nigga, we starving around this motherfucker. And niggas would buy us, you know, meals. And Jagged, I found, had the comfortability of being at home,
right,
being known at home, being with JD at home,
right,
going to the clubs with JD. So things were there was more red carpet laid out for them, as opposed to New York. Was no red carpet. Was no carpet. It was cement. Nothing was laid out. It was all a grind. It was all rough. It was all hard. It was all difficult. We were starving.
Right. And it's a trip, man. Like you see stuff like this like after the fact, like on Unsung, you know what I'm saying? But it's like when you're seeing the R&B videos and how the R&B groups get presented, you would think life is just, you know, all sunshine for those cats all the time. So like, would you say that there was a lot of parallels between like the rap grind and the R&B grind, or did you actually see differences between?
We were a part of a rap label.
Okay.
Regardless of there being a Total and or Faith. You know what I mean? We were a part of a rap label, and we cared it, even though they put us in suits. And I say us, I keep saying us. Even though they put the guys in these shiny suits, we still knew, we were very aware of the Biggie Tupac shit, the Puff and Tupac shit, the Puff and Suge shit. That was something that plagued us throughout our career. That didn't have shit to do with us, but plagued us. One of the first studios we recorded at when we moved to New York was Quad Studios. So it was, we had to carry ourselves like rappers because we'd felt like victims if we were just, you know what I mean?
Like, oh man, that's the church guys, man.
Yeah, the church boys, which that's how we was presented, the gentlemen of Bad Boy. And we tried to carry that as much as we could, but them 4 young wild motherfuckers from Cleveland Avenue they really wanted to dig in, you know. They were really some young heartthrobs who, you know, they ran through it. They had their way when it came to, you know, the female persuasion.
Right.
You know, you can't imagine it was much different than it is today. Even just being able to still be in this business and still relevant since '96, like it's totally changed. Fundamentals are still the same, but just access to and the privacy of, you could get a lot more back then because everybody wasn't gonna know about it.
Right. So it's like, you know, we'll touch on like, you know, what you've been up to like more recently with the likes of like, you know, the Cap G's, Killer Mikes, and even, you know, the Yellow Wolves or whatnot. But to segue into that, coming from what we were just talking about, like, what did you have to learn and check in with as far as like maneuvering in different cities? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you know, when you're a hot name, a hot group, not everybody's out there like, yay, we are glad you are here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, like, talk to us about that experience of like, all right, we get love in Atlanta. Niggas learn to respect us in Atlanta, but now we got to go do the same thing in Chicago, Detroit, L.A., New Orleans, Houston, D.C., you know what I'm saying?
Again, the East Coast, West Coast shit, the Bad Boy Death Row shit really was what should have been the funnest times in our lives, was the most dangerous. And because the power of your word and Tupac's fans and the energy and messages that he was putting out through his raps were Bad Boy Killer. You know, so we encountered that. Everything west of Chicago was an issue for us.
Wow.
My upbringing in this music business, I started training in martial arts in about 92 or 93, and immediately became in love with it and addicted to it. So I found myself spending a lot of time with some very incredible executive protection people and learning a lot and having to learn a lot on how to move from city to city safely, sometimes carrying upwards of $100,000 in cash. And we picked up cash. Wasn't a whole lot of bank wires and cash apps and Zales. That shit wasn't really, you know, niggas wanted to get their bread in cash.
Right.
Because you didn't know if you was ever going to see that shit again. And immediately dealing with that Bad Boy and Death Row shit, it was very dangerous to be known as a Bad Boy artist, just because there are sick, psychotic motherfuckers who really, you know, put thug life on their chest and wanted to, you know, hurt, harm, and danger anything affiliated with Bad Boy. So we encountered a lot of friction, a lot of energy, and at the time with a 4-man group, myself, Greg Browning, who I had hired to be the road manager, met a dude from New York named Big Mo, who was a brute, who I assigned to be our security. But it was a 4-man group, so at every moment, our team, we were all security at every moment. And coming from, you know, having some experience in the streets, niggas wasn't green, but everybody's tough at home.
Yeah.
But you get out here in these other cities and you realize that you butt naked. You know, you don't have access. And you don't know whose side who's on. They could present themselves as your biggest fan, especially the women.
Oh, yeah.
But it's always, you know, for me, it was always a setup. So I never relaxed. Like, I never, ever relaxed in L.A. There was never a moment where L.A. was where we wanted to be and we was having a ball in L.A. So even today, I look at people weird who feel like L.A. is sweet. Like, L.A. ain't never been sweet. L.A. ain't been sweet since 69, since 70. The culture is urban warfare and hunting people. So, you know, it just is what it is. So I had to learn. And by the grace of God, we were able to, I've never lost a client. I never lost a client, whether it has been from building relationships or standing in between some shit and being willing to, you know, go there if needed or put my hands on people, you know. I did what I had to do.
You know, and so it's like being that, you know, we've landed here, man. You know, so I'm about to, you know, approach something that's pretty sensitive. Like, you know, you was the first person that introduced me to Nipsey Hussle.
Neighborhood.
You know what I'm saying? At Stank On You.
You
know
remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't think he fucked with me like that at first. I was like, damn, this nigga got the lokes on tight, hat all the way down.
What year was that?
This
you
was
think?
like This had to be
No.
like this was early. This was like before.
This might have been 2008.
Yeah, this was before freshman XXL cover.
Oh,
like
yeah,
this
way
was
before.
like Bullets
Yeah.
Got No Name.
It might have been
era.
before that.
Yeah, you know, this was very early. But he was like, you were the first
Yeah, it
person
might
that
have been
introduced me
Bullets.
to him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and it's unfortunate, you know, the way that we lost him. But I want to get two things out of you since we're here. You know what I'm saying? Tell us, you know, how you came to, you know what I'm saying, to be in contact with him. And then after that, you know, seeing the way things, you know, went down with his passing, being the person that you're a professional at maneuvering around and things like that. Tell us how that, you know, struck you when you saw him in his own city, you know what I'm saying, have that happen to him.
So I met Nip through, well, I have an affiliation with the Rolling 60 Crips. Been from Rolling 60 Crips since 1986. So meeting Nip in 2007 or so from a big homie from LA, Big U actually called me and said, hey, I got the homie coming into Atlanta. I want you to look out. Well, I said, I got him. Like,
And Big U's a friend of the show. He's been on here before.
Is that right?
Yeah, Big U been here before.
So him coming to Atlanta, it was like, you know, I'm gonna open my arms to him and embrace him and take him around Atlanta. So I think at the time I was still a part of the Purple Ribbon shit at the time. So I remember there being an event at the studio and me taking him over there and him not, mind you, him being a real LA South Central gangbanger state of mind, his bedside manner or his hospitality or his warmth, he really is a soldier. So what you took as he didn't like you, that's just the armor that you know soldiers wear. And so knowing him and spending time with him early on before easily 10 years or 8-9 years before he got to be Nipsey, and just me spending time in the hood in the Crenshaw district. Again, I never was disillusioned that LA was a fun place. You know, I always have been aware of the culture of gangbanging. I've always been aware of the mindset of people who are at any moment on any day could be either struck down or have to strike somebody down, and being raised that way as opposed to learning it as a teenager. You being raised by your big homies who've already hunted or been hunted. You know what I mean? So seeing Cuz rise up as far as he got, and he took the long route. Like he probably could have did this or did that, but he chose to do it the way he wanted to do it, and I respected that. And to see how he lost his life, but I saw it from an Atlanta nigga perspective. But based on my experiences and my education on what LA is, I understood it. And it might sound crazy, but it's other homies from LA who've been murdered by niggas from their same hood. That ain't the first time.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be the last. So it was just different for me. Super fucked up, regardless.
Right.
One of my big homies, and I call him big homie, we more like brothers. He from Carson, from 190, who used to come here a lot, and he would stay with me. He always said, like, you always gotta think, Loke, that L.A. killed Tupac. L.A. killed Biggie. L.A. killed, like, L.A., they different. So
And if they didn't get killed, they got robbed. You know, yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the
It's
super
like-
culture. My first 2 weeks of managing Jagged Edge, my first assignment was to go with them to L.A. And at the time, Suge Knight was pressing them. And going into L.A. and having to hire respectable street niggas from Blood Hood and from Crip Hoods. It was understood that you had to move a certain way, and Suge Knight pressed us. Suge Knight and some of the Booyah Tribe dudes pulled up on us at the Century Club and pressed. And shit, nigga did what a nigga had to do. Nigga had to stand up. Nigga had to stand up. A lot of niggas talk that shit till that nigga's in front of you saying, hey, what's up? I'm pushing. Yeah, then you see who's really a coward, who really can't move without a pistol.
Right.
You know? That's let you know. Niggas who have to move with a pistol, and that's the only way they can move. Most of them cowards. I ain't gonna say they dumb.
Right.
But,
I mean, some places you got to have that.
Right, but who want to go to jail in goddamn Chicago or L.A.? Nigga, Obama can't get to him. You know what I mean?
Right. You don't want to go to jail out of town.
Yeah,
you don't want to go to jail at home over the holiday, let alone go to jail out of town somewhere.
So yeah, it's a tough time. So that it's it's fucked up, and especially even looking at the situation with Pop Smoke, and I didn't know but it's just disheartening, man. It's sickening. It's really sickening. But sad to say, it's the way. It's the way of the world. It's definitely the way of that culture.
Right.
Now I think that it probably get a little difficult for niggas from LA to move around in New York.
Seems like it's like all coming back again.
Right.
Over 20 years later.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Shifting gears a little bit, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you was asking me, bro, what we gonna be talking about? Like, nigga, we talking about you. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's talk about No Face, No Case, man. You know what I'm saying?
No Face,
like,
No Case. NFC, the label. The real shit. You know what I mean? Straight off the streets of College Park, me and my little cousin, Fresh Stacks, legendary Fresh Stacks, started an independent label called No Face, No Case. You can follow us at NFNC, the label. We out of College Park. Our home-based compound is in College Park, and we signing young men and women who have the creative to make it. And we're helping to build and develop talent, either songwriters, producers, and artists.
Build and develop. I'm glad you said that because, I mean, you come from an era where, like, that was the priority. Like you had to do that before you even showed your face somewhere.
Right, absolutely.
So it was like the roots before you see the tree. So in this era, knowing, like, seeing what you've seen, doing what you've done, do you think it's more of a challenge to build and develop in a world where, bruh, I already got down 254 following me on Instagram. All I gotta do is, I can fart on the microphone and I gotta hit, nigga.
And he or she is not lying, because the standards are low. So any artist that has the development, has gone through development, has gone through the training, media training, who's gone through performance training, vocal training, who've been in the studio with real producers who actually produce the music, produce your vocals, and help make sure the song is complete, as opposed to a lot of people just hear a beat over a 2-track and they rap for 2 minutes and that song's ready, it's a hit. Like, okay. and sometimes it goes, but it seems like the artists that get who decide to be a student of the game and who really listen end up outperforming the ones who don't.
Right.
And that's just because they have the tools. If you don't want the tools, if you're okay with being okay, that's what you're going to get okay pay. But if you really invest in the craft and understand how important your performances are, understand how important diction is and how important being able to hold a microphone correctly and to project and to capture the moment or stand in the light and to keep your motherfucking lame-ass crew off the stage so people can see that you are actually the artist, not this nigga who just pulled up with you, who's standing there on the stage with you on his phone. So you understand like how to build fans, how to make somebody want to pay to see you and your dream become reality, not the nigga who just ain't got a job and ain't got shit to do and just want to stand on the fucking stage with you so he can say I was there. That shit is terrible. That shit is awful. That shit is sickening and sad because you're blowing your moment. You're not giving him shit. You're not giving him nothing.
Right.
Nothing of any value, you're just taking the attention off of you. Because that one little moment you've been rehearsing to do your little whoop-de-whoop, and the motherfucking the first row looking at this nigga who doing his goddamn shit. It ain't even his motherfucking song. You done miss your moment because this nigga over here picking boogers. Like, come on, man. Get them niggas off the stage, man. Clear my stage. But we ain't doing another motherfucking song until you clear my stage. Ain't nobody here to see you. I'm not paying you. Get the fuck off the stage.
Well, I mean, you know, folks in the background can do their thing, and I'm going to segue into that saying, again, you think you know a guy, so correct me if I'm wrong. Did you write something on the Justin Bieber album?
Yes, sir.
You did?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that, man.
I wrote a song called I Know What Love Is. And I actually wrote a poem to my wife. And my cousin, Poo Bear, who is my little cousin, my aunt's son, who I also am credited, I guess, for thankfully, by the grace of God, credited as introducing him to the music business when he was 15 or 16. I had him pull up over to Duran from 112's house, and they wrote the song Anywhere together, and he was still...
Legendary video.
Yeah, he was still in... that was fun. He was still in Tri-Cities when that record was exploded. So Poo Bear now is like the main songwriter for Justin Bieber over the last 3 albums, and I was in the studio with him and shared the poem, and that's how the song got created, and that's where the lyrics and the thought behind that record came about. So here I am in my 20-something year participating creatively on one of the biggest pop artists of our time. So, I mean...
Like how in a experience like that, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, because it seems like it's almost akin to the Cupid situation with 112. Like you write a poem and it's like, man, let me hear it. All right, here you go. Like in that moment, how do you balance, you know, the humility and the creativity? Because I know I can't imagine that it's easy, you know, creating something than giving it to somebody that's like quote unquote pro, and they're like, I'm about to change this shit in your face. I'm about to do this to it, and then we're gonna do it that way. So how do you balance the humility of like, hey, bro, you got it. I'm just sharing that, and well, nah, bro, this is how I meant for that shit to go, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm a student.
Okay.
First of all, my years in the martial arts has kept me humble because there's always something to learn. Meaning, I always got my ass whipped in my training. So in that, I understand that there's always something to learn. And being creative is a process. It's how you feel. And whether or not somebody likes it or not really doesn't matter because it comes from the most honest place that you have. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when I share something with someone who is like a brother to me, and he's like, oh, you wrote this? Like, this is dope. And I immediately can trust him with melody, with lyrics, and to sit there and help in the creation of that. It's just conducive energy going together. There's no, if there was some friction, the song probably wouldn't have happened.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes all the times sometimes you go with the flow, especially if you know you're dealing with somebody who is as accomplished and incredible and amazing as Jason Poo Bear Boyd. Like, he has a gift.
Yeah, I mean, he got songs that he just got floating around on SoundCloud that are killing shit on the radio.
Right. He's been doing that for over 20 years, so it's not like it's second nature to him, you know. So being able for him to do that for me as I did that for him, like, and it just happens to be dope. Like, honestly, No Bullshit is my favorite song on the album, but you know, it's God is good.
Real niggas got a reason to listen to Justin Bieber now, man.
Right,
we all got to go check this out now.
Neighborhood. Yeah, nigga from 6-0. Yeah.
So, no, as we wrap up, man, like, you know what I'm saying, we close each show with some trivia because, you know, me and Brandon, we host a hip-hop trivia night here in Atlanta at Black Sheep Tavern every first Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? Well, the person we had on last week, they got the first perfect 5 ever, so hopefully that energy can come over to today. So we always start with an alley-oop because we want to at least.
Well, let me alley-oop this. Get your Crip-a-Cola on Exotic
This was
Pops.
actually one of the questions. You like,
get your Crip-a-Cola, co-owner. You know, me and the homies. Yeah, get the shit going. And Blood Pop too.
So, question 1: what neighborhood street is Nipsey Hussle from?
He's from Hyde Park. He's from Rolling 60 neighborhood Crip. He's from the Crenshaw district neighborhood. Straight up.
So the answer we were looking for, gentlemen, was Crenshaw.
Okay.
And he did say it in the midst of all that.
Right. Crenshaw long street though. Crenshaw long street. So you gotta be specific. He could have been from, you know, Whoop the Wop, but he from the big ends. Yeah.
All right. So we kind of segued into this, you know what I'm saying? The homie Killer Mike. A lot of people know him from Run the Jewels these days.
Right.
But how many solo albums has Killer Mike dropped?
I see. That's a trick question because you say albums, but are albums mixtapes?
No, we're talking about albums that, you know, that that had barcodes, record labels,
2 albums.
Executive producers.
He dropped 2 albums solo.
The answer we're looking for is 5.
No.
He dropped Monster.
That was first.
He dropped 3 Pledges.
Those aren't albums, those are mixtapes. That's what I'm saying. If you just said
I bought those things out of damn Super Sounds, DBS.
And they didn't scan them motherfuckers. Right. Huh? But what was first? What was Adidas on?
That was on Monster.
And then what was the second?
The second was the first the first Pledge. Then he dropped Pledge 2. Then he dropped Pledge 3.
So it's 1 album now.
And then he also dropped Rap Music.
Right. Okay, them mixtapes. Well, Rap Music might have been on a digital distribution platform. Or might not even been digital, but it was distributed. Right. That I know of.
That you know of. All right. So we'll take the answers and explanations that you gave us, Bear.
Right. Yeah. Y'all better read the small print on my answers.
All right. What high school did the Casey twins of Jagged Edge attend?
They didn't go to Redan. They went to... Damn, any other time I could remember this shit. I can't remember. It wasn't Redan. It was... I'm waiting for my sister to shoot me the goddamn answer.
Do you want the answer?
Yes.
It's the answer that you swear it ain't. They went to Redan, bro.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
They went to Redan High School.
Call them boys, man.
They went to Redan High School.
Call
I wrote a big ass story about all the artists that ever went to Redan High School, and I talked to both of them about it.
Give me my phone. Give me my phone right now. We're gonna figure this one out right now. They went to
y'all naming Arabia Mountain. That school opened in 2010. All right, so as you're calling your lifeline, you answered this earlier in the show. Let's see if you can remember what you said. What was the title of Craig Mack's second single?
Get Down.
Okay. And we're gonna take it to College Park. What is the name of the NBA G League team that 2 Chainz has an ownership stake in?
College Park Skyhawks.
All right, so you got, I guess, 4 out of 7 out of 5.
4 out of 7 out of 5. This nigga better answer this phone.
Your lifeline has declined you, sir.
Damn. Twin, where you at?
But let's talk about Crip-a-Cola before we get out of here, man. You know, a lot of people got introduced to this beverage through Killer Mike's trigger warning.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people, like, it trended on Twitter for some days. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like some people were like, this is a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Other folks did not think it was such a fantastic idea.
Who didn't think it was fantastic?
I mean, niggas on Twitter, bro. I mean,
Right.
you know, said they. T-H-E-Y, they. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Well, they did think that we were promoting gang culture. And actually the point of Crip-a-Cola is to change the narrative of gang culture, because Killer Mike and I were in Palm Springs at this exclusive private racetrack where you had, in order to be a member, in order to drive these $1 million cars or race cars on this racetrack, you had to be a member. In order to be a member, you had to buy a home and build a home on this property, and that way you could drive your Lamborghini or your NASCAR car, you could drive it on this track. And in the clubhouse of this facility, which was incredible, there were all these white gangsters on the wall. Like, this was part of the artwork, the decor. And we're sitting there like, damn, these rich motherfuckers are celebrating these criminals. And it was Killer's idea that, why is it that we can't celebrate our criminals and benefit from it, from business? And from there, he started researching and found that the Hells Angels sell merchandise. And that merchandise is probably what keeps their brand alive, as well as legitimizes them as a real corporation, and they earn a living from that. So he came up with the idea to start a soda for the Crips and for the Bloods. And I found 4 guys from the neighborhood. We got Big Noonie in here. He's one of the guys that's on the show. And we created these drinks, and it's really like amazing. It's more amazing to see real gangbangers from LA pick that up and look at it. And they will literally look at it for 15, 20 minutes in amazement, because there's so many lives that were lost based on Crippin' or being a Blood. And now to see that, in the great portion of the proceeds, damn near more than half of the proceeds go to a nonprofit in LA that's helping inner city keep gang violence down and shit like that. So it's just an incredible idea that Killer Mike came up with, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
So the $5.99 question is, where can people buy Crip-a-Cola?
Stevenson, you didn't need tattoo. I was gonna ask you, tattoo, what school did the twins go to high school? It's Stevenson, isn't it? Fuck you.
You did everything but put the wrong answer on speakerphone, bro. He was confident too.
Damn, I had to hang up on that bastard. He said Redan. And he knows. And I still ain't satisfied.
But hey, man, we want to give it up for Courtney Sills in the building, man. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you sharing some of your story and your history with us.
Thank you for having me. Y'all
continues to try
follow
to find
me.
the wrong answer.
Yeah, y'all follow me on Instagram at Higher Level Bear, HIGHERLEVEL Bear, Higher Level Bear, and follow my new record label at NFNC The Label. No face, no case. Brandon, answer the phone. These folks got me looking crazy, Lo.
Hey, man, we'll see y'all next week, man. This has been another one, man. Day One Radio.
Where you at, B? Quit playing, Brandon. Fuck you at. I done came all the way up here.